This is the Trading Psychology Podcast. This is VP, creator of No Nonsense Forex and author of the book No Nonsense Forex Trading Psychology. And with me, as he is every episode, word is he invented the carnivore diet. It's Rob Reinhold.
That's not totally true. I ate the guy that invented the carnivore diet.
5 million years ago. Nice job. All right, so today we are extending a little bit off of a previous episode. If you've been with us a long time, you probably remember the episode where we talk about just how important having a healthy body is when it comes to having a healthy mindset too, and getting yourself ready to trade. I don't personally know anybody who is good at this who also lets their health slide. I think, maybe you know some people who scalp and sit in front of the computer all day and that's just what they do and they have the brain for it. But I've just never thought that was the right way to live. And I think if you can put it all together, why sit there and get really good at this and make a bunch of money if your health is just going to suffer? Health to me is even more important than money. And Rob, do you agree? Am I going off the reservation here too much?
No, and when you said that, I remember thinking back to all of our yearly summits. Once a year, we have a summit where all of our traders fly in from wherever they are. We all meet together. We talk trading, but we really just eat and drink and have a good time. And I'm thinking about, was there anyone there that was just really unhealthy? And I'm sure there was, but I just can't remember it. It seemed like everyone of our traders that were there were in good shape, took care of themselves, and I think it is part of being a good trader.
Yeah, I've said this before when it comes to being a nomad and meeting up with other nomads, especially ones who have left and started their own business, already had their own business. I hang out with all these guys. Not a lot of fat dudes. They don't exist. I've been to one of the Maverick summits. I noticed the same thing. I wasn't really looking for it, but now that you say it, I'm thinking of the people that were sitting there in the morning and the people who came later at night. Everybody is in pretty good health. They look good. They look healthy. They look happy. And if you're not there yet, that's fine. But you can start putting this side of things together as you are putting your trading life together as well, because they really, really do go hand in hand. Rob and I, for reference to qualify ourselves, we're both middle-aged men, but we have tons of energy and we're very busy and we do a lot. And we've been relatively successful at those things we've done. And I'm telling you, Rob, I don't know if you can speak for yourself. This is kind of a softball question, but I think health has played a really large part in this whole equation, as far as where you and I both are today. Fair?
Absolutely fair. And I heard a great quote about 2 years ago, and it was just one of the best quotes. And I really am excited to share that with everybody, is that when you're healthy, you got 100 problems. You got a ton of problems. You got all these things happening. When you're unhealthy, you only have one problem. And I've seen that with people. I've seen that from, people that were healthy before and then they get a cancer diagnosis and all of a sudden that's the only problem they have. People that have, unexplained weight loss that just came out of nowhere, they're not really worried about that, car insurance anymore. They're really worried about their health and getting it under control. So it's one of those things that we all take for granted until it's gone. And then it's really the only problem you have. So whatever you can do to keep that away, it's actually really a benefit and a blessing to worry about all of the little things. Because if your health is gone, it's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, I remember it was a CVS slogan one time, and I know it's super corporate and they do it for a reason, but whatever. But they said, CVS, health is everything. It really is. If you don't have it, you don't have anything. And they're right. Just like you said, once that train stops, it stops. Everything stops. And that's your only focus. You can't focus on anything else. When I was in Vegas, I came down with skin cancer, and I walked into work that day, and I said, look, I'm not going to be able to work. And my boss was like, well, we kind of need you. We're short. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I just found this out, and I don't know how to process it. So I'm going home. And that's just it. And that's what I did. So, yeah, we want to avoid this at all costs, and an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. So what we're going to do is Rob and I are going to go over our approach to fitness, our approach to nutrition, and then at the end, if there's anything out of the ordinary that either one of us does And we're going to mention that too. I have one, Rob, you have one, and I know what it is, so I'm not going to talk about it until then. But let's start with our overall fitness routines. Fitness is a big part of your life, Rob. I know that. It's probably not. I probably don't exercise as often as you do. I'm curious to what you have to say here. Maybe it's changed over time, but let us know what you got. What is your typical day like in terms of your actual fitness?
It definitely has changed over time. And if anything, I work out way more than I used to when I was in my 20s and 30s. I've always been an active kid. I was always into sports, played tons of sports, and working out has always been, to me, kind of a retreat from the world. And I was talking to one of my traders, and she blew my mind with this. We talked about meditation, and I just can't meditate. I'm not good at it. I can't get in the zone. And again, maybe I've got some issues. My daughter thinks I've got some issues, but she asked me, "Do you work out a lot?" And I said, "Oh yeah, every single day." And she said, "A lot of men can't meditate, but what they do is they get it through working out." And when I go to the gym, I am gone. I am gone, and nothing else matters. And I was just there today with my wife. She goes and lives with me on this day, and we were doing heavy leg presses. And I actually said the thing I love about this, because we were like dying out afterwards and just so tired. I said, I love that during those leg presses, you literally can't think of anything else because it's so intense. And it's why I really love the gym, is because for me, it is the place that I get away. It's the place that I get 1 hour for me and me only. And I'll listen to music. I'll listen to a book on tape. I got to stop saying book on tape because that ages me so bad. My daughter laughs at me every time I say book on tape. Audiobooks or podcasts. And it's just for me. So it's been something I've always protected and I've always made time for. Even when I had little kids and life was busy, I always made time because that is my time for me.
Yeah, so for me, as somebody who pretty much has the entire day to themselves, I'm kind of the opposite. Like I tell people, I'm not going somewhere to decompress. I'm going somewhere to escape boredom, more or less, or to keep myself active. Because people might think I sit there and look at a screen for 6 hours. I don't. I can't do that. I need to do something. Plus, I've always had the body type to where I gain weight pretty easily. And I have a skinnier frame, so it just looks terrible, and I feel terrible, and it's a bad combination. And no matter what I do, anytime I go away for a few weeks, I gain like 5 to 10 pounds, and it just looks awful. But I keep myself in shape, so I allow myself to do that, so I can come back and and take that weight off, which is what I'm doing right now. I've only been back in Mexico for a few weeks. And it's such a good feeling because it's such a routine. So when I wake up in the morning, no matter what day it is, I have a gym in my apartment, and I get up and I jump on the elliptical machine, and I do 30 minutes with the podcast on, and that's just how I start my day. Dietary-wise, this is something they used to call stoking the furnace to get your metabolism going. This is debated, but it does work really well for me, and that's all I know. Also, why the elliptical? Because 20 years in hospitality, I put a lot of stress on my joints, and I don't want to put any more on it for no reason, so that would eliminate the treadmill. I want something that's softer on my joints. That would also be the bike, but the elliptical at least gets more things moving, and it's a better calorie burn. So that is an essential part of my day. And as soon as I get back in, I do a 15-minute stretching routine. I go to YouTube. There are so many different ones you can pick from. Just type in 10-minute or 15-minute stretching routine for men. If you don't have a mat, you can type in the word standing, and they have videos for that too. But this is also really essential. And this is something I've done for a long time, but it's even more important the older you get, because almost everybody I know who's my age or close to it, or even some friends I have in their 30s, anytime they get up out of their chair or out of a car, you hear it. It's always like, ugh, a little bit of a groan or a big groan. I'm not sure what it is. And these aren't, like I said, these aren't big, heavy-set people for the most part. But you still hear it. And so stretching is how you live forever. So if I can just start that and get those 45 minutes out of the way, to me, everything else is easy. And now, I don't go to the gym every day, like Rob said, as far as actual lifting weights. I do that 3 times a week. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. The reason I do that is because if I do go to the actual gym, it's far less crowded on Saturdays. And Saturday is usually my going out day. So it's not like I'm going to go in all hungover or anything like that. But I also make sure I do that too. I don't lift super heavy. I don't try to max out or anything like that. I don't have the body for it. It doesn't make any sense. But I just want to have good muscle and be strong and carry that forward into my older age.
And for me, I generally lift 4 to 5 times a week, and I will do 2 to 3 days of cardio. Not entire days, but 2 or 3 days of cardio. I typically do my lifting Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday, and let me tell you why. I have 1 hour. I have 1 hour, and that's it. That's how my life works. That's all I have. I can't do cardio because after cardio, you need a shower. And after shower, then you got to re-get ready. That's about an hour and a half process. I don't have that. So for me, it's always lifting. And the time I go lifting is very, very deliberate. Now, my life is wildly different today as an owner of a prop firm and a risk manager than it was when I was just me, a young kid as a trader. I was trading, day trading at Maverick Trading, and yeah, you'd sit there all day long, and I would kill the open. I would be great at the open, and then I would give my money back over the rest of the day because I was sitting there clicking buttons when there really wasn't good action. So I told myself, you need to leave. You have to be gone from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'm in the Mountain Standard Zone, so that is like 12 to 3 Eastern time in the stock market. You have to be gone. You have to be gone. You cannot be behind a computer. So to facilitate that, I got a gym membership and I got a trainer at that time. The reason I did that, I didn't need a trainer because I'm disciplined. I like to work out. But I got a trainer because before I said, I'll just make sure I go to the gym at 9:30. I'll just leave at 9:30 to go to the gym. And then all of a sudden, it would be 10, it would be 10:30, it'd be 11 and 12. And then it's like, oh, I missed it. I'm not going to go work out today because I had a trade that I needed to be in. So I hired a trainer that I didn't need or even want because I paid money for it and I had to show up. I talked about this in the Over Trading podcast that we did. I think it's episode 6 or 5 or 6, if I remember correctly. And I talked about how I needed to get out of the office. I need to leave because if I don't leave, the computer's there, the phone's there, everything's there. I get really distracted. So for me, I must leave the office. I must leave my house. I have to leave in order to get in the right space. The cardio I do is spin class. I went to a spin class probably 20 years ago, just kind of on a whim. I love club music. I love dance music. And so it is a great high energy, just really high energy where you're just all out for 50 minutes. My workouts need to be intense for me. I'm a very, very strong extrovert. They need to be as intense as possible. And I said this in prior episodes. A tired Rob is a good Rob. If Rob is tired, he actually is pretty mellow and makes few mistakes. But Rob that has all this energy bouncing out all over the place definitely can be an issue here. So for me, high intensity is what I do.
So funny what you said about the music, too. In Latin America, especially, people like bringing their own music in and blasting it with no regard for anybody else. And they always play club music. You see these big jack dudes that they're playing like Cher and Madonna. I never quite made the connection, but I guess that's what it is. I probably should have said this at the very start. If you're not familiar with Rob and I already, as far as what we do in our daily lives, we're very different. And I think that's important when it comes to if anybody wants to take any parts of what we say and tailor it to their lives. Rob runs a brick and mortar prop firm. Rob has a wife and 2 children. VP has none of those things. You know, I have 3 businesses, but I can kind of schedule things in wherever I really want. And so it gives me a lot more latitude that way. And I realize that's not typical. So take the things I say with a grain of salt. That doesn't mean they're wrong or wrong for you, or that Rob's are any more or less right. Just fit this in as best you can if you're going to use any of our advice, and just understand where it's coming from.
This is the classic extrovert versus introvert. And we've been a really great pair throughout all of our episodes because we really showcase that quite well. What is the crazy extrovert who can't sit still? What do they do? And what is the introvert who is much more thoughtful, more reserved, where you're holding that energy in, and then when that time to release that energy, it's ready. Instead of me, I'm always shooting energy out. I think this podcast has been a great illustration of extrovert versus introvert. So based on who you are, if you're more of an introvert, you should do what Patrick does. If you're more of an extrovert, take a look at what I do.
That's true. I'm a little bit country. He's a little bit rock and roll. Yeah. And also, too, body types. Rob's a mesomorph. I'm an ectomorph. Different methods for different people when it comes to working out and nutrition as well. Different protocols need to be followed. If I had Rob's mesomorph body and I saw these jacked muscles, I'd probably never stop. But my emphasis is more on staying lean and overall weight control. So let's transition into nutrition. I have some very, very strict rules here because on top of the fact that I gain bad weight very easily, I also have a terrible stomach. I've had leaky gut syndrome ever since college, really. And I've tried everything. There's really no great way to make it go away except for eating right and eating less of the things that really bother my stomach, which just happen to be carbohydrates, in particular gluten and sugar, which is actually kind of nice. This is my body's way of saying, hey, I want you to be healthy, because what I typically do is go very low carb, very low sugar, and then high fat and high protein. I'll do eggs and fruit in the morning. And by fruit, just like a few blackberries. And then a protein shake with all the good stuff mixed in, chia, flax, matcha, cayenne, things like that. And then usually just a pretty lean protein at dinner. And then I'm pretty much good. I don't need too much more than that. If I have snacks around, it's going to be something like low sugar yogurt or even just a flavored carbonated water. That'll get me by. And that's always done me really well. Now, this is impossible when you are traveling, especially if you're going to be at airports. There's just no way you can get around this. So I kind of use that time to say, okay, let's eat all the things that I've kind of wanted to eat and never did. And that's my time. But I'll tell you what, though, especially when you get your sugar down, so many things you would think you would crave, you really don't. I don't know if you had this experience or, with your larger body, you just need more fuel. Like, how do you approach this? Do you take any parts out of my playbook, or do you completely have your own here?
Well, good general nutrition is ubiquitous across the board. So I absolutely do some of the things you do. For me, in the morning, I don't love carbs, and I'm so grateful for that in my life. Like, I'm one of the only people I've ever met that doesn't like bread. I just don't care for bread. To me, bread is like cardboard. I'm eating nothing. There's nothing in it. And pasta, there's nothing in it. I like really nutritious, rich foods, and I always have. And so I'm very, very blessed. My wife, she likes all that stuff. And again, it takes willpower and determination. So for me, I don't eat a carb. Not one single carb until lunch. So for me, it is always lean protein and fat. That's it. Lean protein and fat in the morning. And I really find that I'm very alert. Now, look, I'm alert as a person, so I'm not sure how much my diet does it. But again, for me, that is the rule. No carbs until after I work out. So once I get home from working out, then it's usually a protein shake, because protein shakes are the best and quickest and easiest way to get those nutritional elements into your body. And a lot of protein powders will be fortified. Fortified means that they've added in all the vitamins and minerals, which means you don't really need to take a dietary supplement vitamin. if you do one protein shake a day that's fortified, you're getting everything you need. So for me, it's usually a protein shake, and this is where I will put in like a frozen banana, or something like that to get my carb. But it's usually a fruit carb. It's not usually a bread carb. And then for dinner, I just eat whatever I want. We eat pretty healthy, but there are really no rules for dinner. Dinner is just dinner. And for snacks, I'll eat nuts, I'll eat fruit, all that good stuff. But that's pretty much what I do. And it's funny because as you get older, and I hate this because when I was younger, I'd look at all these older people and they're like talking to their friends about their eating routine and what kind of hummus they eat. And I would just be like, oh my God, kill me. If I ever talk about my nutritional routine, please shoot me. And here I am telling you about it and really excited to tell you about it because it's an exciting part of my life. So it just happens as you get older, you build routines much, much easier. And I remember telling younger traders, it's hard when you're young because you haven't really had enough life experience to build these really rigid routines. And once you build one, it's really easy to do another. Once you get disciplined with your food or your workout, it's really easy to do the other one. It just all falls in line, but it takes years to develop that willpower.
Yeah, and you're right about that carb. You do need some carb after working out, so everything can enter your muscles the way it's supposed to. And that's when, I forgot, I have these olive oil fried potato chips, and I'll have a small handful of that with my shake. But you're right. I'm thinking of all the other things I do that it just all turns back to discipline. For example, I didn't know if I should put this in the first part or second part, but I have a rule on top of this. And I remember, I'm going more for weight control than anything, and that is my no plopping rule. And what I mean by this is it has nothing to do with the toilet. It's after you eat, you should do something active. I will usually go walk somewhere. There's usually something around town that I need to go do or need to go get or need to go see, and I will only do that right after I eat. What I will not do is eat and then go sit down, because that is definitely not what our ancestors did. When they ate, they didn't go sit on a couch and watch TV. They ate for the purpose of doing more work, and it's no surprise that almost everybody eats and then goes and sits down, and now everybody's overweight. So that's one other thing I wanted to add. And I guess while we're on this nutrition end, Rob, what is your supplement regimen? Do you have one? Because I definitely have one. And people are on the fence about supplements. I am not. The difference in my health long term is night and day when I have a disciplined supplement regimen to boot, and when there's times when I don't, which is sometimes travel. I'll forget to bring things along and then I can't find them or something like that. It's rare, but man, do I feel it when I don't get the proper nutrition, because our food naturally just doesn't give it to us anymore.
I'm sorry to tell any of you younger people out there that by the age of 40, I guarantee you will have a drawer full of supplements. That's it, just supplements. Patrick, would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. And I'll have somebody over to my apartment who's never been there before, and they see the supplements and they think I'm just a manic pill popper. I'm like, no, read the label. That's magnesium. That's not it's not Prozac.
I don't know what happens. Again, it's the same thing when I was younger and I would see old people and all their pills. I'd just be like, oh my gosh, is that what happens? Yes, it is what happens. So yes, supplements are great. I've got to say, I've tried everything. I just love to try things. I love to, what about this? What about this? I haven't really noticed any big difference in any supplements I have taken over the years. So I don't really take a lot at this point. Like I'll do with fish oil. I'll do like some ashwagandha to help with cortisol levels. But I don't notice really any different. Now, with the supplement, I do notice is a stimulant like caffeine, ephedra, stuff like that. I do notice it. And I've noticed that I do much better if I wait to take a stimulant until about 1 or 2 hours after I wake up. And I've heard lots of health gurus out there talk about how don't do stimulants right when you wake up, let your body wake up, get into a rhythm, and then the supplements come out. I find that I am more sharp. I'm less on edge. And, anyone who's taken like stimulants, if you've taken like too much caffeine, you get that nervous energy, you get that. And if you've taken pre-workout, you get where your face feels like it's being stung by thousands of bees. You get that rush, and you don't really want that right in the morning. So I really like to time my stimulants, which is really just caffeine at this point, right before my workout. And then that's it. So for me, that's pretty much all my supplement usage.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned caffeine because this is something I struggled with for a while because it was dehydrating me really badly. And I was probably over caffeinating myself, which is weird too because I guess it's just how my body processes it. I know people who have 7, 8 cups of coffee and they're fine. I have the equivalent of 2 and I dry out like a raisin. It's weird. But I have successfully managed to go down to, I have the 0-calorie energy drink that gets most of its energy from green tea and a couple other natural sources. And then I also have just green tea. And that has done me pretty well, actually. I just need a little something to get me perked up a bit. And then usually I can just let momentum take me from there. So after I do my elliptical and my stretch, then it's time for caffeine. I think what they're saying is right, Rob. It is best, I've noticed, to not have it right in the morning time because then I will almost always crash in the afternoon. But if I can get my elliptical, stretch, shower, then sit down and have my caffeine, I'm generally good for the rest of the day. Now, for what it's worth, if anybody cares, as far as my supplements go, I've told you mostly how I eat and what I do. So the supplements that really fit into that type of lifestyle is a vitamin B complex and D3 during breakfast because you want to have these with food more often than not. And then at night, that's when I take my omega-3, magnesium glycinate, vitamin K2, turmeric, and CoQ10. Now, I've been through all sorts of different iterations. I like to try things like you do, Rob, but this has been what I've settled on probably for the past couple years now, and it's done me really well. Anything else you want to speak to this before we get to the final part here, Rob?
It's interesting that you say you've had leaky gut because my daughter has really suffered from that for years. And we've tried all these elimination diets. She's been vegan for, 7, 8 years. And we've had these ups and downs with her health. And a vitamin B12 shot, I swear, fixed her. I swear that after a vitamin B12 shot, because I was researching, just trying to figure out what can we do. And I actually put all of her symptoms, all of her tests into ChatGPT. And it said, hey, go get her a vitamin B12 shot. So I think for someone with stomach issues, supplements, stuff like that is so important. Have you noticed a big difference with vitamin B?
I actually have not. I was always told B1 was kind of the key with me, and so I tried that and a few other things. I actually paid a guy who deals with the stuff like that, and we tried a few things, and just nothing worked. Like, I liked his ethos, and I liked the reasoning behind what he was talking about. It just, unfortunately, nothing worked. But I didn't go the B12 route, definitely not the shot. So that's something I can easily get here. Maybe I'll try it. Who knows?
I just wanted to mention it in case anyone is dealing with kind of the same symptoms out there. I don't know if it'll work, but give it a shot.
And make sure leaky gut is what you have too, because there's a lot of different ways that people get acid reflux and stuff like that. Because I've got advice from all sorts of people that just, they don't quite exactly have what I have, or if they do, just like you said, Rob, not everything works for everybody. I've been dealing with this for almost 30 years. It's just something it's a constant search, and hopefully I'll find something. But that's fine. I manage it just fine. And let's go ahead and kind of go to the last part here, Rob. The last part I have on the outline is there anything that you do, if what we do already doesn't seem out of the ordinary to some people, anything you do in particular that the majority of the world probably doesn't in terms of fitness or nutrition that has really served you well up until now?
I can't say it's served me well, but I do like a long intermittent fast. Now, there's several ways to do intermittent fasting. I like to do the one that gets you into what's called autophagy. So autophagy is a process that the body goes through when you are completely out of blood sugar. So it takes about 16 hours after your last meal of fasting to get to where your blood sugar is at 0. And then there's another, I can't remember now the name of the backup, but there's about another hour of other sugars that your body can use. And then after that, your body has to go get energy somewhere. And one of the places it goes to get it is fat. It'll go now to your fat cells, but it won't go to your fat cells until you cross that line. And then it'll also start a process called autophagy. Autophagy is where the body goes around and looks for old proteins that were not utilized, and they're just kind of like garbage sitting around your body, to where they're not being cleaned out. They're just kind of sitting there. And a lot of people think that these proteins are the things that really can cause some cancers. So this autophagy is where your body will actually go search out these proteins and convert them and use them for energy and muscle synthesis. And what it does is it clears out the old garbage of your body. So this is something that I like to do, usually like a 3-day fast. Past 3 days, it gets pretty miserable, but a 3-day fast for me is right about the right time where it's like, okay, I'm getting pretty miserable at the end of it, but I've got my body into that autophagy long enough to where it's going to do some good. So I do that about once a month, and I can't say it's doing anything for me. The science is behind it. Go check out the science on it. But I also like that it is a battle of will. I love that. And I really love to put myself in these situations where can you fast for 3 days? It's not fun. It's not easy. Here's the cool thing. Once you get past about that 16, 17-hour mark, you're not really all that hungry anymore. And it's more of a cruise. And it isn't until day 3 where it's like, so that after that second and third day is actually, you feel great. You feel really good and really alert. And then by the end of the day 3, you're like, I am starving. I need to eat. So that's my one weird thing I do. I don't know if it's helping me at all, but hopefully it's getting rid of those proteins that potentially could cause some issues down the road.
Okay, so I can speak a lot to this. What you were describing when talking about autophagy is the main parts really of the ketogenic diet. Is if there's no carbs to burn, then it just starts, it has to burn something, so it starts burning fat, and then your body produces ketones, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, all these things kind of do follow a similar path. I will say too, I have done intermittent fasting for about a year now, and I have never felt better. What you were talking about is the 16-8, eat for 8 hours a day and then fast for 16. I went on AI a while back, and I was like, can I do like a 15-9? Is there really any difference between a 15 and a 16? And it said it's actually pretty negligible. So that's what I do. It helps because I do sleep for 9 hours. And so really it's only a few hours before I go to bed, which you shouldn't be eating at that time anyway. And then when I get up, I'm so busy doing my exercises and guzzling water that it's almost time to eat by the time I'm done. It's not that hard because I set my life that way to where this part actually becomes quite easy. But yes, the benefits are awesome. Weight loss and weight management comes a lot quicker and easier. And I cannot recommend enough. If this is something you can pull off, I do it 6 out of 7 days. I have that one cheat day. I do go out on Saturday nights, usually on Sunday morning. I just want a Red Bull and a donut, and that's exactly what I have. and everything I was doing for the past 6 days goes out the window. And then I start anew. And then it's fine. My body doesn't mind at all. So that's been very good. The one other thing I wanted to bring to the table, though, that you didn't, Rob, and this is something that has come into vogue the last few years. So some people just aren't quite ready for it yet, but it's one of the really safest and most productive things I think you can do for your body. And that's red light therapy. Have you ever known anybody to do this, Rob? Or you don't do it yourself, do you?
I don't. But as I said, I love to try everything. I've been meaning to try this out. The science behind it is phenomenal, and I really believe it's very beneficial.
I'm telling you, you want to live forever. I have a great aunt who's still alive, and she's 95 and no walker or anything like that. And she had these indoor plants with this red light. I never forget this part of our house because I always thought it was so cool looking. And I can't help but think that might have had something to do with it, 'cause she was always in that room tending to her plants. But it's very easy. They come in tabletop varieties or like ones you can hang up on your wall. You can even have these stands to where it goes over your bed. It's 15, 20 minutes. And I usually do my stretching in front of it. So I kill two birds with one stone. Now I do have these glasses I put on. You can actually look at it, but I'm not ready for that yet mentally. So I have these, put on my little glasses. I know these stretching routines in my head, so I can just do them just by listening to the guy's voice. And I do it right in front of my little red light origin, and I'm good to go. And I don't know. This is one of those things I don't really feel on the surface. It's kind of like supplements. You don't feel them until it's kind of part of you, and then you're just like, wow, why do I feel good all the time? I can't point to anything. But it's one of those things, and there are just so few drawbacks. And I kind of wonder if this is going to prevent me from having any troublesome moles or anything like that going forward, because all my life I always have, and I've always had to get them taken off before they become cancerous. And I just wondered if I had this before, if it would have maybe prevented that. I don't know. But I'm really excited to see where this goes.
It's supposed to be amazing on inflammation. And as we've learned more and more about the body, we find out that, inflammation in the body, and all inflammation is when something is not perfectly running. It gets inflamed. Like when you hurt a muscle, it gets inflamed. It's injured. And so the body has to fix it. Well, the body has to spend a lot of energy like fixing that muscle because it's inflamed. The inflammation is telling the body there's something wrong. And so like if your kidneys aren't working, they're going to get inflamed. If your liver's not working, it's going to get inflamed. So it's really nice to get that inflammation out of your body because it really makes your body able to allocate resources to general overall health instead of dealing with these injuries and inflammation. I think it's a fantastic thing. I was looking into going into the infrared spas where it's like a tanning booth, but you're just laying down in an infrared bed. So those are supposed to be really good for you.
Yeah, I think somebody bought one for Joe Rogan, and he used it for like a week. And he used to have to use readers to read books, and now he doesn't. Like the amount of things that this therapy can actually cure in a very short amount of time, it's up there, man. If you don't want to sit down and watch a YouTube video, just go on AI and say, hey, I have these issues. Can red light therapy help? Maybe it can, maybe it can't, but you never know until you look it up, and that's really how I discovered it.
Boy, this podcast just turned into a really good commercial for red light therapy. Did we get any sponsorships before this?
We really should have. I should have thought of that. Now, I want to tell everybody this is not official medical advice. If you use red light therapy and then you become permanently injured, don't blame us. But I think it's certainly something worth looking up. I've never spoken about it before because it's like anything. I want to give it time. I don't want to use something for a week and then run around and preach about it. But I guess while we're here and while it's on topic, look it up, man. You might be really surprised what it could do for you. So before we get too on our horse about anything else, as we already have in this episode, I hope there is some type of takeaway for you out there. I imagine most of my audience already does pay attention to their health more than your average person does, because like I said, like attracts like. Water seeks its own level. But if there was anything you could have taken away from this episode, I hope it was worth your time. Thank you for spending this time with us. On behalf of Rob Reinhold, this is VP. We will both see you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.